when my daughter shouted, "Either you obey my husband or leave this house." I didn't snap back. Instead, I smiled, grabbed my suitcase, and walked out, the house I'd built and paid for with every ounce of effort now behind me. She probably expected me to crumble like always, but this time, I wasn't breaking. A week later, I had 24 missed calls, and that was just the beginning. They would regret every word, every action. Before we dive deeper, make sure you subscribe and drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. My keys were still warm in my hand when I pushed open the front door, grocery bags cutting into my wrists. The soft Saturday light spilled through the curtains, the kind that normally made me feel at peace. Not today. Ryan Mercer was sprawled across my leather recliner, the last gift Linda had given me before the cancer took her. His bare feet propped up, a half-empty beer bottle dangling from one hand. The remote rested on his belly as if he owned the place, and I suppose he thought he did. He didn't even glance at me. "Grab me another beer while you're at it," he muttered, eyes glued to the basketball game. I set the groceries down slowly, the milk and bread pressing painfully against my palms. "Excuse me," I said. Still nothing. My chest sank. I bought those Coronas just for him, spent my Social Security money on beer I'd never touched myself. "Ryan," I just walked in. "I need to put these groceries away." Finally, he looked up, that same look that said I was being unreasonable. "What's the big deal? You're already standing. I'm comfortable." "The big deal is that this is my house," I thought. He finally stood, looming over me with his size advantage. 30 years old, bigger and broader than me. But I'd been handling difficult people long before he was born. "Your house? Funny, because your daughter and I live here. We pay the bills with my money, I might add." Ryan took a step closer, beer in hand. "Frank Dawson, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. Want to keep things peaceful? You follow instructions. Simple." At that moment, the kitchen door swung open. Emily Dawson appeared, her blonde hair pulled into a messy ponytail, a dish towel in her hands. She froze, taking in the scene, Ryan looming over me, tension thick enough to choke. "What's going on?" she asked, that same teenage warning tone I'd known for years. "Your father's being difficult," Ryan said without looking away. "I asked for a beer, and he's making a federal case out of it." Emily's disappointment was palpable, like I was a misbehaving child. "Dad, just get him the beer. It's not worth it." But Ryan wasn't finished. He leaned closer, his alcohol breath in my face. "Here's the deal, Frank Dawson. You live in our house. You contribute. When I ask, you do it. No questions, no attitude." I kept my voice steady, even as my heart raced. Emily stepped up beside him, presenting their united front. "Dad, you need to decide. Help Ryan or pack your things and leave." The words hung in the air, suffocating. I searched my daughter's face for any trace of the little girl who used to crawl into my lap during thunderstorms. There was none. Only Ryan's entitled expression mirrored back at me. "All right," I said quietly. Ryan smirked, convinced he'd won. "Good. Now about that beer." "I'll pack," I replied. The smirk vanished. Emily's mouth opened slightly, expecting me to crumble and apologize. She shuffled to the kitchen, defeated. I turned toward the hallway, leaving the groceries where they sat. Behind me, I heard Ryan's sharp intake of breath. Emily whispered, "Dad, wait." But I was already heading to my bedroom, footsteps steady on hardwood Linda, and I had refinished 20 years ago. The suitcase came down from the closet with a soft thud. I bought for our honeymoon to Yellowstone, back when Linda was still alive and the future felt endless. Now it gaped empty on the bed, ready to swallow what remained of my life in this house. I packed deliberately. Underwear, socks, a few changes of clothes. Not everything, just enough. From the living room came the low murmur of urgent whispers, Ryan's voice rising over Emily's softer tones. They were plotting, try to figure out how to handle my unexpected defiance. My hands moved automatically, folding shirts, rolling ties. I placed a photo of Linda in the side pocket, wrapped in tissue. My medications, reading glasses, and the small leather journal where I tracked expenses followed. When I wheeled the suitcase down the hallway, Silence fell. Ryan had returned his chair. Posture changed. Alert now. Watchful. Emily leaned against the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, trying to look stern but failing to hide her uncertainty. Neither said goodbye. The car started on the first try. My old Buick, reliable as ever. I backed out without glancing at the house. Didn't check if they were watching from the windows. The 30-minute drive to Pine Lodge Motel gave me time to think. Memories came in waves as I passed through downtown Kalispell. Emily's college tuition, $40, $000 a year for that fancy private school she demanded. I'd worked overtime at the bank for 4 straight years, handling extra clients, staying late to review endless loan applications. Her wedding had cost $25,000. Ryan's family couldn't cover their share, so I quietly paid. The reception hall, flowers, her dress, all had to be perfect. Then came the house, $80,000 for my retirement savings for their down payment, because that's what fathers did. That's what Linda would have wanted. The bills followed. $1,200 for mortgage, $300 utilities, $500 groceries when money got tight. My Social Security vanished into their lives bit by bit, and I convinced myself it was love. Pine Lodge Motel sat on the outskirts of town, faded paint, a flickering neon sign. Small but clean. I set my suitcase on the luggage rack and sat on the bed edge. The silence was different here, not comforting, but hollow, temporary. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through contacts, banks, insurance, credit cards, numbers etched in my memory after 30 years in finance. Tomorrow was Sunday, but some things could still be done. Some calls could still be made. I opened my laptop, logging into online banking. Account balances glowed, checking, savings, retirement. Numbers representing a lifetime of careful planning, of sacrifices made so I could provide for my family. The cursor blinked in the search bar, like it was daring me to decide what came next. Sunday morning rolled in gray and heavy, the sky matching the weight in my chest. I spread my paperwork across the motel's wobbly table. Bank statements, insurance policies, legal documents, each sheet a weapon in my new campaign. First call, First National Bank. Automated menu, security questions. Then a young man's cheerful voice. Good morning, Mr. Miller. How can I help you today? I need to cancel the automatic mortgage payment for 847 Pine Street. Account ending in 4729. A pause. Keys clacking. Sir, this payment's been active for 5 years. Are you sure? Completely? May I ask the reason? The homeowners no longer qualify for my assistance. Silence, then more typing. Understood. Payment canceled effective immediately. You'll get written confirmation in 3 business days. One down. Next, Geico. Harry's Silverado. Tiffany's Honda. For 3 years, I've been footing $280 a month to insure cars I never drove. I'd like to remove 2 vehicles from my policy. The owners will need to arrange their own coverage. When would you like that to take effect? Today. The credit cards took longer. Tiffany was an authorized user on 3 accounts: Visa, MasterCard, Costco. Nearly $500 a month evaporated on purchases I'd never made. They'll need their own credit, the rep explained. Remove them immediately. Every call felt like dropping a sandbag I've been carrying for years. My banking background gave me the upper hand. I knew the loopholes, the fine print, the magic phrases that cut through red tape. Life insurance was trickier, paperwork required. $100,000 once earmarked for Tiffany was now on hold. Family, I'd learned, is a 2-way street. By noon, 8 calls were done. Mortgage payments stopped. Insurance canceled. Credit lines shut down. The slow bleed of my accounts ended with nothing more than polite conversations and a tidy stack of confirmation numbers. They didn't know yet. Not until the mortgage bounced. Not until the car insurance expired. Not until the credit cards declined. I closed the laptop and stood at the window. Across the lot, an older couple loaded luggage into a pickup. They moved with the quiet ease of people who'd weathered storms together. Martha and I had been like that once. The phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring. By Wednesday, 12 missed calls. By Friday, 24. Listening in order was like watching a storm roll in. Phase 1, confusion. Phase 2, anger. Phase 3, desperation. Tiffany's voice tight but still polite. Dad, the bank says the mortgage payment stopped. They want the full amount by Friday. Harry clipped and irritated. Clark, you need to fix this. My insurance is lapsed. People are asking questions. Midweek, the cracks showed. Tiffany crying, promising they'd work something out. Harry claiming he'd been too harsh. I deleted each one without comment. Thursday morning, a knock on the motel door. Through the peephole, Tiffany in a wrinkled sweater, eyes swollen. Harry beside her, jaw set but shoulders tense. I opened the door but didn't step aside. Dad, Tiffany's voice was raw. We need to talk. About what? Harry shoved forward. About the fact you're trying to ruin our lives over a stupid beer. I'm not ruining anything, I said evenly. I've simply stopped paying for your lives. Harry's voice jumped a note. You can't just stop paying the mortgage. That's our house. No, I corrected. It's my house. My name's on the deed. My signature's on the loan. You were guests. Tiffany's lip trembled. We can work this out. Harry was wrong to talk to you like that, but you can't just leave us. You gave me an ultimatum. I reminded her. Do what Harry says or leave. I chose. Her eyes darted to the ground. I didn't mean it like, yes, you did. Harry tried charm, his voice dropping. Look, we all said things, but you're talking about our lives here. I can and I did. I cut in. I started closing the door. Tiffany's voice cracked. What about family? Family works both ways, sweetheart. 4 or 5 years, I took care of you. When it was time for you to take care of me, you sided with him. Harry's temper flared. You crazy old. Raise your voice again and I'll call the police. This is private property. You're disturbing the peace. They froze, maybe seeing me for the first time. Not the soft, easy father. Not the walking bank account. Just a man who'd learned how to say no. Harry turned. Come on. They walked away. Tiffany looked back once, as if the man standing there was a stranger. I shut the door, went back to my laptop. There were still calls to make, still accounts to close. The work of cutting ties wasn't over yet. I needed coffee to think straight. The diner on Main Street had always been my retreat when Linda Dawson was alive. She'd meet me there after doctor appointments, and we'd share apple pie without talking about anything serious. Tuesday morning, I walked the familiar 3 blocks through crisp mountain air, my paperwork already reviewed again like a general's battle plan. The bell above the door chimed, and I barely had time to sit before a voice called, Frank Dawson? Well, I'll be damned. It was Bob Harrison, an old First National colleague. We shook hands, and he slid into the booth without waiting for an invite. After small talk, his voice dropped. Your son-in-law tried to pull a fast one on us. Wanted a $50,000 home equity loan on your house. Brought forged paperwork claiming it was his. I froze mid-sip. When? December or January? Bob said. We caught it in the title search, but this wasn't a mistake. He forged documents. Word is, Ryan Mercer has gambling debts. Big ones. The revelation hit hard. His disrespect and beer ultimatum suddenly made sense. He'd already seen me as a source of cash. I left the diner with my coffee untouched, heading straight to the Flathead County Courthouse. The clerk processed my eviction notice without fuss. 30-day notice starts today, she said. Sheriff serves papers within 48 hours. Next stop, the police station. Detective Jim Morrison confirmed the gambling rumors. Ryan was a regular at Glacier Peaks, playing high stakes, owing somewhere between $18,000 and $20,000. Some debts were to legitimate lenders, others to dangerous types who didn't go through the courts. He's been stalling for 6 weeks, Jim said. Won't be able to for much longer. I walked out knowing the clock was ticking, for Ryan Mercer and for whatever came next. I left the police station with a clearer understanding of Ryan Mercer's mess. His gambling explained everything. Why he tried to fraudulently mortgage my house. Why he'd been getting more aggressive. I wasn't just convenient cash to him. I was his last lifeline. That night at the motel, I reviewed the day's progress. Eviction notice filed, proof of Ryan's gambling and fraud, and allies who knew the truth. I added Detective Jim Morrison's notes to my evidence file, recognizing the pattern. Ryan wasn't just entitled, he was dangerous. Tomorrow, I'd start calling his creditors, not to bail him out, but to make sure they knew the truth, especially that he had no claim to my property. In a small town like Kalispell, word travels fast. By Friday, I decided to control the story myself. At the post office, Mrs. Henderson from church cornered me, fishing for details. I kept it simple. Emily Dawson and Ryan asked me to move out. So I did. That was all she'd need to share with half the town. Next stop, Miller's Hardware, where I'd worked part-time. Tom Kowalski and the crew were shocked to hear how Ryan had treated me, and furious when they learned I'd supported him financially for years. We offered him extra shifts, Tom said, but he always had other commitments. Sarah from the paint counter muttered, "Casino." Later, Pastor Williams invited me in for coffee. I told him the truth. 5 years of financial support, and now Ryan's ultimatum in my own home. Sometimes love means letting people face the consequences, he said. I couldn't agree more. By afternoon, I was at Annie's coffee shop, hearing murmurs from nearby tables. Ryan Mercer owes money all over town. Frank Dawson's been paying their bills for years. The truth was spreading without me lifting a finger. Then Mrs. Patterson, my old neighbor, called, said she'd heard shouting at the house and seen police drive by twice. I thanked her, knowing I still had people watching out for me. That evening, one of Ryan's creditors left a voicemail, proof he'd listed my address on applications. I added it to my evidence file. But Saturday morning brought a twist. Calls from Tom, Mrs. Henderson, and Pastor Williams. Ryan was making the rounds, telling people I'd abandoned them during a family medical emergency, that I was having a breakdown, and that I'd kicked him out of spite. My jaw tightened. He was trying to rewrite the story. Harry's latest stunt proved he was desperate. A public smear campaign meant his creditors were closing in. My phone rang. "Mr. Dawson, this is Detective Morrison. Just a heads up, Ryan Mercer filed a complaint this morning. Claims you're the victim of elder abuse and being manipulated by someone at the bank. We told him we'd need medical proof and witnesses, which he doesn't have." Minutes later, Emily Dawson called, voice thick with tears. "Dad, I'm pregnant. The stress is making me sick. The doctor says I could lose a baby." The timing felt too perfect. "When did you find out?" I asked. "Last week, right before everything blew up." "Which doctor?" "Dr. Richards at the women's clinic. I'll call her to see how I can help with medical costs," I said. Her voice sharpened. "You can't just call my doctor." The line went dead. Later, I found Ryan outside First National Bank, loudly telling anyone who'd listened that I'd kicked my pregnant daughter out for no reason. I walked up calmly. "How's the gambling debt, Ryan?" I said, $18,000, mostly poker at Glacier Peaks Casino, according to Detective Morrison. The crowd shifted, murmuring. Ryan's face turned purple. "You're crazy. I can document every dollar I spent supporting you for 5 years. Can you document where your paychecks went?" He stormed off, people already pulling out their phones. Back at my motel, I called Detective Morrison. He confronted me publicly, threatened me, and now he's escalating. That night, Pine Lodge's night manager, Steve Brennan, knocked. "Ryan stood outside your door for 5 minutes muttering about teaching old fools lessons. I've got it on security video." The next morning, I brought the footage and my notes to the police station. Detective Morrison leaned back after reviewing everything. "Frank, this is ground for a restraining order. And there's more. Ryan consulted a lawyer about adverse possession laws. He planned to claim your house after 5 years. He's been there 3. My stomach turned. "Does he have any legal claim?" "None. You gave permission for him to live there, and he's never paid taxes or rent. But it proves premeditation." By the afternoon, Morrison had the restraining order ready. I left with a clearer picture than ever of Ryan Mercer's character. The beer incident hadn't been about showing who was in charge. It had been part of a bigger cover-up, one designed to end with my home in their hands. Walking back to my car, I took out my phone and scrolled through my contacts. Time to make some well-placed calls. First up was Marcus Webb from Frontier Financial Services, one of Ryan Mercer's creditors who'd been dialing my number. Mr. Webb, I'm returning your call about Ryan Mercer. I need to clear something up. He no longer lives at my address and has no legal claim to my property. He put my home down as his residence on his credit applications, but the truth is, he was a guest. I removed him from my home last week. If you're looking for him, he's working over at Mountain View Auto Dealership on Highway 93. The second call was to Continental Credit Recovery. This is Frank Dawson. You've been calling about Ryan Mercer's debts. I want to confirm he doesn't own any part of my property and doesn't live here anymore. Each call was short and to the point. I wasn't taking on Ryan's debts or handing over personal details, just setting the record straight about the false address he'd been using to dodge his creditors. By midday, I'd reached 6 different collection agencies. Ryan's carefully balanced house of lies was about to tip over. That afternoon, Judge Morrison signed a restraining order. Ryan Mercer was now legally banned from coming within 500 feet of me or my property. One violation, and it would be straight to jail. Driving back to Pine Lodge, I felt the satisfaction of watching justice land where it belonged. Ryan had spent 3 years plotting to take my home. Now he couldn't even walk up the driveway without breaking the law. A text buzzed from an unknown number. This isn't over, old man. I forwarded it straight to Detective Morrison, then blocked the number. At this point, gathering evidence felt like second nature. Monday morning, I filed a restraining order. By noon, I was already seeing Ryan's life unravel from multiple directions. The courthouse clerk stamped the papers. Mr. Dawson, this is effective immediately. Any contact or approach within 500 feet is a violation. I thanked her and headed for my car, knowing the sheriff's deputy would hand Ryan his copy before the day was out. Not long after, my phone rang. Mike Brennan from Mountain View Auto. Frank, I need to ask you something straight. Are the things Ryan's been saying about you true? What's he been saying? That you had some kind of breakdown, kicked him out because of dementia, that there's a family medical crisis you're refusing to help with. Honestly, it doesn't add up. I've known you for 20 years. You co-signed my kid's first car loan. Mike, Ryan gave me an ultimatum. Follow his orders or leave. I left. There's no medical crisis, and my mental health is just fine. My banker, lawyer, and the police can back that up. There was a long pause. I was afraid of that. Frank, I got 3 customers who say Ryan owes them money. 1 spotted him at the casino. This is hurting my business. I can't have that around customers. I'll have to let him go. 20 minutes later, I was having coffee at Annie's when I spotted the first debt collector's car pulling up to my old house, Continental Credit Recovery, just like I expected. My phone rang, Emily Dawson's number. Dad, there are men here asking about Ryan's debts. They want details on our assets, income, everything. What did you tell them? That he doesn't own the house and doesn't live here anymore, but they're talking about garnishing wages and seizing assets. I don't understand. Sweetheart, that's what happens when someone borrows money they can't pay back. Those are Ryan's choices, not mine. He owes $18,000. How? Gambling. Glacier Peaks Casino. Detective Morrison confirmed it. Silence, then a softer voice. He told me he was working late those nights. I'm sorry you had to find out like this. And the deputy probably served him the restraining order by now. He's just realizing he's out of moves. Dad, he's talking about leaving town. Says there's nothing left here for him. What am I supposed to do? Make choices based on the man he really is, not the man you hoped he was. That evening, I parked across from the house and watched it all play out. 3 creditor vehicles had shown up during the day. Mrs. Patterson next door gave me a sad wave. She'd seen enough to know the truth. Through the window, Ryan and Emily were arguing, his movements aggressive, hers defensive. The picture-perfect marriage they built on my money was falling apart fast. A text came in from Steve at Pine Lodge. That guy tried to get in again. Told him about the restraining order. He left, but he was angry. I sent it to Detective Morrison. Ryan wasn't just ignoring the restraining order. He was getting reckless. A man with gambling debts, no job, and a growing list of legal problems only has two options: face it head-on or run. Knowing Ryan, running seemed more likely. If he skipped town, what would happen to Emily? Would she follow him into the mess? Or finally see the truth? Either way, it was their problem now. I'd spent 5 years shielding them from reality. That ended the moment they told me to choose between my dignity and their demands. I chose dignity. By Wednesday morning, I'd seen enough. I called Emily. Meet me at the diner. Just you. I can't leave Ryan alone right now. He's struggling. Then we have nothing to discuss. The restraining order means I can't be near him anyway. A pause. Where? Main Street Diner. 2 o'clock. Back corner. I got there early and picked the booth facing away from the street. No distractions. Emily walked in looking older than her 28 years. Stress carving lines under her eyes. Fingers twisting her purse strap. She sat down and immediately started talking. Dad, I know you're upset, but Ryan lost his job and the collectors won't stop calling. People are showing up at the door, demanding money we don't have. I waited until she was done, then said calmly, I'm giving you one chance to end this with some dignity. Her eyes narrowed. What do you mean? Public acknowledgement of the truth. I looked across the table at Emily Dawson. I'm offering you one chance to end this with dignity. Her brow tightened. You want me to humiliate myself in front of everyone? I want you to tell the truth, I said evenly. Acknowledge how I supported you and why I left. College tuition, wedding costs, mortgage payments, all of it. Sunday morning at church, a letter to the Tribune, and a Facebook post everyone can see. She stared at her coffee. And Harry, Ryan Mercer is no longer part of my life. The restraining order stands. Staying married to him means choosing him over me. Her eyes widened. You're making me choose between my husband and my father. No, I said, I'm asking you to choose between the man who threatened me and the man who raised you. When I told her the family house was going to the Montana Veterans Housing Initiative, she looked like I'd struck her. Even if you do what I'm asking, I added, the decision is final. I need to know any reconciliation is about love, not inheritance. She finally whispered, what if I can't do it? Then you'll live with the consequences. I said, Ryan will probably leave town. You can go with him or rebuild your life with honesty. Sunday came, the sanctuary packed. Emily walked to the podium, looking small but steady. Her voice carried clearly. For the past 5 years, my father, Frank Dawson, has supported Ryan and me, paid for my college, my wedding, our mortgage, even groceries, while living on Social Security. 3 weeks ago, when he wouldn't follow my husband's orders, we told him to obey or leave his own home. He chose to leave. She paused, voice shaking. I stood by while Ryan disrespected the man who raised me. I chose pride over gratitude. I was wrong. Ryan was wrong. She met my eyes. Dad, I'm sorry is enough, but I hope it's a start. After the service, she told me, the letter to the Tribune runs Wednesday. The Facebook post goes up tonight. Ryan left town yesterday. I filed for divorce this morning. Turns out he'd been gambling on my credit cards. 3 months later, I stood in front of my old home watching 3 veteran families move in. For the first time in years, it felt like the right people were living there. If this story moved you, hit the like button and subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive. Share your thoughts below. I read every comment.